Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is awesome. I'm always good because we're diving into Start Sit week number 6, baby. Unbelievable. We're almost at the halfway point of the regular season, and it is never over. I'm telling y'all, don't get all worried because your team may not be winning at this point. We can always come back with bye weeks and hitting that waiver wire. We got some teams on the bye this week. The Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. Like you guys know, if you checked out Boomer Bust, I got you covered there as well. But you guys know the drill, man. Drop your questions in the comments. I'll definitely get back to y'all. We go rapid fire. Every team, every player. Let's dive into those Arizona Cardinals taking on the Green Bay Packers. Kyler Murray doing the business. Almost 100 points right now, 3 boom games. He's playing very well, man. Coming off a big win versus those 49ers, taking on Jordan Love and these Packers, trying to get to 500. Low risk for me for Kyler. Fire him up everywhere you got him. He looks good. If they can figure out this offense completely, where they're not necessarily stumbling over themselves, they will be decent enough to support more than just 3 players. Who am I talking about? Michael Wilson. He is a mid-level risk for me, Michael Wilson, because he does showcase the fact he's got some playmaking ability. If we're talking low-end wide receiver 3 flex, I'm okay with a Wilson this week as well because they got to spread this football around with more consistency. James Conner on the good upside once again. You can fire him up everywhere you got him. He gives us the points every single week. Marvin Harrison Jr., only 3 booms so far. I mean, I say only 3. He's a rookie, and he's doing very well. This is a good week. Jari Alexander, I believe, is still dealing with injuries, nursing those injuries. So Marvin Harrison Jr., fire him up on the low risk. Greg Dortch, he's dropping down a little bit more just on that low PPR floor. I mean, it is what it is, but you got to see Michael Wilson be that secondary piece, and I think this offense would move that much better. And Trey McBride on the mid-level risk for me, taking on these Packers, who do have good linebackers to cover and safeties as well. Atlanta Falcons taking on the Carolina Panthers, and there is a judgment here, I got to say right off the bat to caveat. We might see some situation. While I got to say, low-level risk for Kirk Cousins coming off a 500-yard pass game, this may get curtailed this week. I would not be shocked whatsoever. While we got to play him, it is a great matchup for him, and they may, turn the lights out early on in this game, early on with the offense. There's a risk, man. If the score gets out of hand, they could run the football a lot, and then, you're basically capped under 20 points for a Kirk Cousins. So you got to hope they score early and often, at least to get you that point threshold. Either way, low-level risk for Kirk Cousins. I know a lot of y'all streaming him this week over your starter, so I can say, yes, start him this week. Bijan avoids the injury report. He did tweak his hammy early on in this week of practice, but I am giving him the stud start. If there's any week that we see a Bijan Robinson breakout contest, this is the one. Feed the man the football and let's see what he can do. Hence why I also say we could see a Kirk Cousins curtailed back on the top end stat line. But, I mean, Bijan should be his game. If it's not, there's grave concerns for the rest of the season for Bijan to hit that top-end stud-start appeal. Tyler Allgeier's got TD upside once again as well. If this game does go out of hand, he will see a lot of garbage time productivity, so you can flirt with the option of flex appeal here as well. Drake London, low-level risk. Fire him up. He's got everything going with a Kirk Cousins right now. Likewise with a Darnell Mooney, mid-level risk, only due to part of game flow, how it's going to go. I'm still playing a Mooney this week as well. Say hey, Ray McLeod. PPR floor is definitely here for him, but it's only in deeper leagues for me, not trusting it in 12-man leagues just yet. And then TD upside for a Kyle Pitts. I think he will find that end zone and give you guys the boom that you're looking for, no question. Baltimore Ravens taking on the Washington Commanders, the Commies. It's going to be a good one. Lamar Jackson versus Jaden Daniels. Oh, mama, get your popcorn ready. This is going to be another good one. The Ravens coming off a massive, sluggo fest versus those Cincinnati Bengals last week where points were just flying off the board. Lamar Jackson doing fabulous, 125 points, 5 boom games, just like Derrick Henry, 107, 5 boom games. These guys are killing it, man. I don't know. This was the easiest evaluation for me going into the offseason, saying King Henry with the Ravens who run the football at an average clip of 555 per year. Hell yeah, man. You knew these guys were going to absolutely load up. Once again, low-level risk, fire these guys up everywhere you got them. Justice Hill on the PPR upside mid-level. he's doing enough because at least, they're looking for somebody to be a staple as a secondary piece, and right now there isn't one. It is Zay Flowers, it is King Henry, it is Lamar Jackson. Outside of that, we're basically throwing darts at the wall to see who we can have. At least 40 points. PPR upside from the running back spot is not terrible, and this Washington Commies defense can get gashed from time to time. There is no question. Zay Flowers on the low-level risk looked good last week. I hope it does continue, and I think it will continue as the secondary in Washington is somewhat meek and underwhelming sometimes, so I like Zay once again this week. Bateman, Aguilar, Mark Andrews, same issues every single week as Bateman. Okay, high-level risk for me. Not touching it, not trusting it. We're Nelson Aguilar and a Mark Andrews. Again, it's not happening, man. They're using Collier as the other tight end. They're using Isaiah Likely. I think the writing on the wall is that Mark Andrews' career here is just to be a blocker at this point until further notice. He's on the bench and likely on the mid-level risk. There is a lot of boom or bust appeal where there is risk to reward, but I mean, if it is, it's a very low floor if you're playing him this week once again. Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets, and oh man, we got some problems in Bills Mafia. Injuries. Khalil Shakir, ankle, questionable. James Cook, questionable on the toe. Hollins on the shoulder, questionable. Curtis Samuel, toe. They could probably get me out there, and I could play wide receiver for them this week because, good Lord, there is some problems in this injury report. Josh Allen, the Bills have not looked good the past 2 games. It looked really bad, and I mean, Josh maybe dealt with concussions the last 2 games. He's playing this week. They said the investigation went through and said that they did follow protocols, so fine, that is what it is. But Josh needs to be Superman, and you pull out the fact that James Cook may not play in this contest, and we got to wait until Monday to do it. If you got better options, I definitely suggest taking it over at James Cook, where Ray Davis and a Ty Johnson would take over the snaps, where Ty's been pretty good overall, and I think the Bills can decently run the football in this offense, even without a James Cook playing. So you're going to have to find somebody to throw the football to, and Keon Coleman is your number 1 target at this point, where he has got target upside on the mid-level risk. So, I mean, if you're stuck in a pinch and you're looking, I still suggest taking it elsewhere, even though the Jets' defense has not been what we have seen in the past. Far too risky for me in a Week 6 event where we got to get those wins. I would look in another direction and just hope that the Bills' offense can figure out their issues. Curtis Samuel, low floor, not touching it until otherwise stated. Mac Hollins, likewise. MVS, likewise. They're just not fantasy viable at this point, where a Dalton Kincaid should be up the board on a low risk. I just can't trust it at this point, man. His dropping problem is becoming a problem for me. The target share should be at minimum 8 targets to this guy every single week in this offense. It's not going that way. So I'm a little bit skittish on playing him this week. I did call him a bust potential because of the drops, because of how the Bills have played, and Josh Allen even on the mid-level risk. I don't want to say if you got better options, because Josh Allen is one of the best in the league. It's just not looking good in Buffalo right now. 93 points. You got to think Superman might be in this contest to beat these Jets. So with Josh Allen, I would still start this week. But, I mean, other than that, I really am skittish playing a lot of these Buffalo Bills. Carolina Panthers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Andy Dalton, red rifle. You knew a regression was coming. I mean, it's Andy Dalton. We know what happens, but taking on these Falcons, secondary looks good. They do got a good pass rush. He could be running for his life just a little bit, but the running upside of Chuba Hubbard, I do like still on the low-level risk. 72 points. He looks good, man, able to break free, and he will make a big house call if there is a open hole. Miles Sanders on the low floor. We're not looking at that direction, but Deontay and Xavier Legette on the mid-level risk. I do like both gentlemen this week as well, especially if it does get into garbage time. But I mean, the garbage time last week didn't look good either, so we will see how it does go down. I mean, the safer floor between the two is Deontay. Obviously, Xavier's been cleared of that shoulder issue. So, I mean, for me, it's Deontay over Legette. But in deeper flex leagues, I don't mind a Legette this week as well. Mingo not touching it. And then Jatavion Sanders, I do like him a lot. I wish that they would actually integrate him more in this offense, as a Tommy Tremble was absolutely lights out, killed last week on a massive hit. He will miss some time due to that concussion. But, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting show. See if the Panthers can turn their season around against the Falcons. Chicago Bears taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. Get up early once again. I believe the next 2 weeks are still London contests. Caleb Williams and these Bears seemingly figuring things out. He looked good last week, able to spread the football around, and the biggest change has been the running game, baby. What have I been saying? This guy's a rookie. You got to give him every ample opportunity to support it, and DeAndre Swift is the good upside play once again this week versus Jags defense that does struggle against any offense, basically, and you know Caleb Williams is going to try to put on a show for these Londoners, so I mean, mid-level risk for Caleb. I mean, you're looking at anywhere from 13 to 20 points for Caleb. Don't dislike it whatsoever. I do believe there are better options, but don't hate Caleb starting this week. DeAndre absolutely lock and loaded. Fire him up everywhere he got him. Roshan does have a TD floor. Going to be very much hit and miss unless he finds that end zone. I think if there are better running back options, which I think there are all over the place, take it over a Roshan at this point. DJ Moore called y'all on the revenge game. Boom! And what did he do? He hit you big last week. It was going to continue again this week versus a Jaguars defense that is struggling still. Rome Odunze on the mid-level. I'm looking in other directions this week, even though there is a time and point where we're going to say Rome is going to have another breakout game. This one could be it. It kind of does feel like it just a little bit. So I mean, if you're forced to play Rome, I don't dislike it, but I would look for other options. Keenan Allen is basically avoidable at this point. Don't like it. I mean, 13 points for Keenan. I mean, this is dreadful. He's basically on waiver wires or your bench at this point. Cole Kmet, TD upside, and I'm calling a boom for this man as well. I do like the play of a Cole Kmet. Cincinnati Bengals taking on the New York Jets on Sunday Night Football, baby. Joey B, like I said, coming off that massive show versus the Ravens. If I'm Joe Burrow and these Bengals, what else do you have to do? That was everything in his power, what he could do last week, and they still ended up losing. Joey B versus New York Giants. Definitely got to get things right on the right track. He will have another good contest. Fire up Joe everywhere you got him on the low-level risk. Zach Moss and a Chase Brown. Chase dealing with that quad. Coach said they're both good to go. I'm shocked that Zach Moss is good after what he dealt with last week. Thought he would be out for a while. But at this point, there are some stipulations suggesting that Chase may be a game time. Head coach already did suggest that both are good to go this week. So watch it because it is on Sunday night, and you will have to see definitely the injury report as we get into Sunday afternoon. There is no question. For me, I like Chase over a Zach Moss if both are healthy at this point. 37.1 points for a Chase Brown last two games. He's absolutely killing it. But if Brown is out, obviously Zach Moss, fire him up everywhere you got him. Jamar Chase, I don't even think I have to explain that. Obviously, you're firing him up. T. Higgins, likewise, on the good floor. They're seemingly figuring this stuff out here in Cincinnati as well, where Chase and Higgins are the bread and butter 1-2 punch. Fire them up. Andre Yosevach, low floor. They're just not enough targets to go around. They're going to feed these guys on the regular. If Yosevach does get a touchdown or some targets, I mean, it's definitely something I'm not necessarily endorsing at this point, but you need somebody out between Chase and Higgins for Yosevach to be fantasy relevant. Likewise, with a Mike Gesicki, low floor because injuries did give him the target upside. Now everyone's back, and he is afterthought in this offense. Cleveland Brownies taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. I told y'all, man, if there's one offense here in the NFL right now that I'm absolutely fading, it is these Cleveland Brownies. I do not like what's going down. Deshaun Watson looks terrible. This run game can't get going. Amari Cooper stuck in first gear. He wants out of here. I'm telling y'all, it is not a good look. Taking on the Eagles coming off the bye week. You know they're going to come after a Deshaun Watson with the bum rush. High-level risk. Don't touch a Deshaun Watson. Jerome Ford, I mean, he's giving you the floor of about 8 points right now. There is some limited upside because the passing game isn't working. If you're stuck at running back, okay, I get the play, but I would look in other directions for a Ford as well. Foreman was dealing with an injury. He's fine right now, but I'm still not trusting that. Where Amari Cooper, I'm still calling a bust on the low floor, whether it's going to be the forget his name, the rookie defensive back for those Eagles. Man, I'm not even going to try right now because I'm going to stumble all over myself. He's going to struggle because I do like the play against him versus Amari Cooper. Definitely low floor for me on this. I'm not touching Cooper this week. Hopefully you got better options. Elijah Moore, what has happened to this man's career? I do not know. High-level risk. Jerry Jeudy, low upside right now. Dropping touchdowns, dropping passes like we've seen. And then David Njoku, he gets off the injury report. I got him on the mid-level risk, dealing with knee and ankle injuries. It's not necessarily the best, but hopefully Njoku can break out of the funk and make this offense that much better. Dallas Cowboys taking on the Detroit Lions. Dak Prescott, 4 boom games, come back win last week versus those Pittsburgh Steelers. That was actually pretty impressive for the Cowboys, where they typically crumble in those situations. Dak, I mean, for me versus Detroit, the front line of Detroit will give them headaches, will cause some pain, but Dak is a decent start on the mid-level risk. Where Rico Dwaddle, I do like the play this week, okay? I'm not a huge Dwaddle fan, but I like the play. I think they will have to get him involved in the pass game because the rushing upside will be curtailed with Aiden Hutchinson. Grown-ass man, he's going to be pushing that line. So I would temper the expectations when you're talking about rushing upside, but hopefully they get him involved in that pass game. Don't dislike Dwaddle this week. Zeke, he is on my bench and not moving, if not on the waiver wire, where CeeDee Lamb definitely needs a bounce-back game. Low risk for me. He's only got 3 boom games, 63 points. It's not what we had expected, but, I mean, you had to think, coming off the holdout, there was going to be some slow, but we're in week 6 already. It's time to get your stuff right, CD. We're Turpin. I mean, he's definitely the epitome of boomer bust, where Jalen Tolbert is flying up everybody's boards, including mine. Love this kid coming out of college. 3 boom games. He caught the touchdown to win the game versus Steelers. I like me some Jalen Tolbert this week as well. I think his role is definitely here to stay, where Jake Ferguson boomed for us last week, and I still continue him on the low-level risk. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Denver Broncos taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, and okay, got to give those flowers to the Denver Broncos defense. It is helping everything on this offense as well, giving more possessions, more opportunities, and Bo Nix is starting to figure some stuff out. Mid-level risk for me, 72 points for this rookie Bo Nix. It's starting to look better and better every single week. You cannot dislike it. If they can start absolutely figuring out this run game and pushing it, I think versus Chargers defense that isn't necessarily great overall. Bo Nix, he's got some potential. I'm still not playing him, but I'm going to mark him as a mid-level risk. Javonte Williams, mid-level risk, finally got the boom game. Like I said last week, it was the greatest opportunity, but he only got you, 13 and a half PPR points. Not necessarily great top-end totals, but at least we're working with something now. Mid-level risk for Javonte, where Jaleel is a high-level risk. Boomer bust. I mean, when he gets the ball in his hands, he can make plays in the open field, but can you trust it on a weekly at this point? Not so much. Cortland Sutton, mid-level risk. He was one of my avoid wide receivers this offseason, and I will continue to do that. I just don't trust it until we see better. It is what it is. He is ranked as a mid-level, but I'm always looking for better options than a Cortland Sutton. Humphrey or Reynolds, high risk to low floor, not touching it. And then Greg Dulcich, high-level risk. This offense just isn't there yet to support all these pieces. Detroit Lions taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And this should be a good one. The Lions coming off the bye week, and they look good. Jared Goff coming off a perfect passer rating going into the bye. I mean, what else could you expect? The guy went for 18 for 18. It was unbelievable. Low-level risk versus the Cowboys defense that's still maybe without a Parsons, likely without Parsons and Lawrence, I believe. So, I mean, it is going to be, some free reigns over the middle, which means the run game should be working very well. Low risk for a Goff, low risk for a Monty and Gibby. The Monty and Gibby show. Look at these guys, man. 4 boom games apiece, basically even points. I mean, they are doing this run game to absolute unbelievable levels here in Detroit. You could absolutely fire up both a Monty and Gibby. Likewise with an Amon-Ra St. Brown, low level risk. He's killing it. And then J Mo on the mid-level. He's got TD upside every single week. And at least we see now how this offense is moving. It goes through the run game, goes through Amon-Ra, and J Mo's that big play threat that they were looking for and why they drafted him. Everything looking good. Where Tim Patrick, he is on the board at this point, not touching it yet, but he is now on my board on a high level. If they can integrate that third piece wide receiver, he's very tall, very lanky, makes a lot of plays. It was nice to see him catch that touchdown last before the bye, but I mean, Sam Laporta, TD upside on the mid-level risk. I mean, tight end is so difficult right now. Very peculiar why they don't use him like they did last year in Detroit. Only 20 points for this tight end in 4 games. It's definitely well understated for Sam Laporta. TD upside on the mid-level. We got to play him because it is Sam Laporta. Green Bay Packers taking on those Arizona Cardinals. Feeling the love for love. I mean, this offense is moving. Low-level risk. 3 boom games. Jordan Love looks no worse for wear. Love me the start of Jordan Love. Fire him up versus these Cardinals who do struggle on the best of days to defend a lot of offenses, and this Packers offense is still very much explosive. Josh Jacobs, man, can we get a damn heavy end boom? I'm looking for it. Still low-level risk for me. Fire him up everywhere you got him. He's got 3 booms, but they're on the lower end, and it's killing our teams. We want to see 25 points. Josh, put it on the board. Low-level risk. Emmanuel Wilson, low floor. He does take some timeshare, but it's not enough to trust with a healthy Josh Jacobs. Romeo Dobbs, Romeo. He was upset. He basically sat on his couch, stayed away from practice, and they suspended his ass because they were like, you don't want to come to practice. You're not playing. He's not a happy man right now. So, I got the sneaky suspicion where Coach LaFleur might say, okay, fine, you're unhappy. This is your game to show what you can do. I got sleeper appeal on the mid-level risk for Romeo this week. Let's see if it does work out. I do believe that LaFleur is that kind of guy where he will give you what you require, not because you were whining and wanting to be out, but I think he's going to say, okay, it's on me. I'm not giving you enough targets. Let's see what you can do. If Romeo drops some passes, that's going to be the last time you hear of Romeo Doubs when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. Jaden Reed, low-level risk. He's been the killer. Fire him up everywhere he got him. But Dontavian Wicks, man, I got some problems with you people, and it is Dontavian Wicks. You're killing me, dude. I preached you up last week, and you made me look like a fool. I'm sorry for all y'all. I played him too, okay? So you guys weren't alone. Wicks, we all went down with the ship. It was not good news. Wicks continues to have his dropping problems on heavy target share. I believe he had 7 targets last week, and it just did not materialize. TD-dependent upside on the mid-level risk. I'm going to play him once again. I'm a glutton for punishment. I will play a Wicks this week once again. Even though Dobbs got the sleeper appeal, I do like Wicks for the bounce back because the pressure's off. Everyone's not expecting it, and I do believe that Wicks could see another touchdown this week. Where Tucker Kraft was dealing with injury this week, where Musgrave is basically being sent to IR. They're saying the groin is good. He is good to go. Absolutely. His role could be curtailed, so I would be cautionary on that injury mid-level risk for me. Houston Texans taking on these New England Patriots. C.J. Stroud takes down my Bills. They lost Nico Collins, came at a big price, the NFL leading wide receiver at this point. He's out on IR with a hamstring, 4 weeks. Gonzo, were a C.J. Stroud, low-level risk. Still fire him up versus these Patriots. The defense of the Pats is still good enough to compete, but C.J. Stroud is it's in New England too. So here's the one thing. I won't be shocked if the Texans absolutely have a letdown here, but I just don't see it. I think they're still going to win this contest. Low-level risk for a C.J. Stroud. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Where Cam Akers, Joe Mixon. Mixon is on the practice field on Friday, so it is good news. Potentially playing. Still got to have him in the red. If he is playing, I'm playing him. Just like we did with the Brian Robinson B-Rob last week. They cleared him and he played, scored a touchdown. Same crap I'm doing with a Joe Mixon. I think without Nico, it is going to be good news for Joe getting back in this offense where Cam Akers and the other running back, I won't even try. Man, I suck at these names today. It's terrible. I really do apologize. Cam Akers, mid-level risk, and then Ogbowale, there we go. I think he would be absolutely on the mid-level if a Joe does sit once again. Stephon Diggs on the low-level risk, easy. You put him as the number 1 wide receiver now that Nico is gone, and then Tank Dell, he does get target upside. I know it's scary. He hasn't done much for us even when Nico went out. It's because the game plan was already set in place even when Nico went down, so you got to understand what you're working with. Offensive coordinator, he will get Tank involved in this contest, but I do see a lot in a Tank's game right now. He seems very timid to get injured. I think it's a lot of confidence issue for me, the way that I see him playing on the field. I think he's not over that broken leg injury, got a little PTSD, so it is definitely translating on the field, but target upside definitely here. He just needs a big bounce back game to get that confidence up, and it could be this week versus those New England Patriots where a Stephon Diggs is going to see a lot of Gonzalez, so definitely Tank up the boards for sure. With Robert Bobby Trees dealing with a foot issue. Told y'all on the waiver wire show that Xavier Hutchinson is a good quality wide receiver, just waiting for his opportunity. He's got a low floor, so there is potential as well for a Hutchinson in deeper leagues to give you decent points, including a touchdown. Where Dalton Schultz on the mid-level risk, I absolutely foresee a boom coming for this man. They should utilize him a lot in this contest, especially with Diggs being covered by a Gonzalez. Indianapolis Colts taking on those Tennessee Titans, and I understand injuries galore. We got, Jonathan Taylor ruled out. Anthony Richardson, A-Rich, game time decision, even though he is, trending to play. I still got Joe Flacco lean here right now. I think it might be coach speak. Let A-Rich sit for another week. The offense is moving in the right direction. Josh Downs, toe, he's playing. And Michael Pittman, man, there was rumor that he was going to be on IR. He's listed as doubtful, but we'll see. He may actually suit up in this contest as well, and if he does, I'm absolutely, putting the caution on him on the mid-level risk. If Joe Flacco plays, mid-level risk. If it is an Anthony Richardson, I will give him same mid-level risk, TD rushing upside. Everybody else dies in this offense when it is an A-Rich in the pass game where Joe Flacco can at least support it. Trey Sermon, he was dealing with a collarbone, but he's still in the green for me on volume upside, even though the Titans are very good. Versus the run, there is touchdown appeal. We're a Goodson high-level risk. Pittman, play at your own whim. if he does suit up in this contest, one hit or one bad step could, kink that back out, and then he's off, and you guys are looking at a goose eggs on your stat line. So definitely keep that in mind. Josh Downs with a Joe Flacco, absolutely mid-level risk with PPR upside. Do like the play where Alec Pierce is your perennial boomer bust every single week. This man catches a lot of touchdowns, runs away from a lot of people. This guy's got some wheels, man, and he will get it. But whereas Donnie Mitchell, we see a Reggie Wayne talking up at AD, talking about him, saying he's one of the best separators he's seen. We'll wait and see. I told you I was going to be around the halfway point for an 80 in this offense, but once he does figure it out, we're going to see 80 start to take a lot more targets this week. Low floor for him. And then Mo Cox, Mo problems. He's back. Mo Alley Cox on the high-level risk. I mean, we're not touching it, but at least he found his way into the end zone last week because Mo Cox, Mo problems. There is no offense without him. There is no question. Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Chicago Bears in London. Trevor Lawrence, sunshine. He looked good last week. I mean, it was able to at least look better the part than what we have been used to. Keep feeding Brian Thomas. This is the MO. Brian Thomas is a true wide receiver one in this league, coming from LSU, and I mean, wide receiver you, no question. Keep feeding a Brian Thomas. Low-level risk for Brian. At this point, you can't put him on your bench. Start him everywhere you got him. Trevor Lawrence, mid-level risk. Again, 13 to 18 points is kind of your floor against a Bears secondary. That is good. They will give him, troubles. Yeah, you may want to look in other directions. I mean, 40% plus ownership rate on the waiver wire for a Trevor Lawrence. If you're streaming him, I get it. I don't dislike it, but I mean, definitely cap your top end upside. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, what the hell do we do here? I'll tell you what we do here, okay? There will be a hot hand share here now. This is how it's going to go. Doug Peterson has this in his history where he will lean upon his running back. Goes back to his Philly days. He will lean upon the running back that is giving him the best opportunity to win games. Last week, Tank had more traction than Travis. This week, I do believe Travis will still be the starter and Tank will take his upside. But it will likely be a 50-50 split where it is, one series it's Tank, one series it's Travis. You just got to hope Travis breaks one because he has not had that this year. Still 3 boom games for an Etienne. I like Etienne. I like a Tank. They're going to have to run the football, control some clock against this defense that is playing very well. Christian Kirk, mid-level risk, 3 booms. He's safe in my wide receiver 2, 3, and flex appeal. I don't dislike a Kirk this week. With a Brian Thomas, fire him up, and Evan Ingram continues to be on that injury risk. He's traveling to London, but what does that mean? You got to get up early to see if he's going to play. So, I mean, definitely keep every option there. It's going to take Ingram some time to get his football legs back, so I would caution the start once again this week. Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Denver Broncos. Fabulous defense. Chargers coming off the bye. And I'm telling y'all right now, this is still run-heavy Harbaugh offense where Herbert low floor versus this great defense in Denver. I mean, 42 points so far in 4 games. That's like 10 points a game. It is not the Herbert that we're used to, and they're still struggling protecting him. Keep him on the bench. I'm not trusting Herbert this week. J.K. Dobbins, likewise, on the mid-level risk. Going to be very hard to find openings for him to gallop through, even though he has looked very good. And if you have no better options, I get it. Hopefully you do. J.K. definitely tempered the expectations versus this fabulous defense in Denver. Gus Edwards, not touching it. Josh Palmer, not even looking in that direction. We're a QJ mid-risk. There is obviously touchdown appeal here. They will go deep, but again, Pat Surtain and company are looking the part with a Riley Moss. They look so good. It is no fly zone. I don't like these wide receivers to play this week, where Ladd McConkey probably does have the best upside with PPR upside on the mid-level risk. But again, playing any of these wide receivers versus the Broncos defense is definitely, asking a lot. Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aiden O'Connell taking over for a Gardner Minshew. Mustache Minshew, we'll see. At least we know with Aiden O'Connell, much like a Minshew, he's just going to throw the football. You're going to see interceptions. You're going to see fumbles, but at least he's going to throw the football. Low floor, not touching that. Whereas Zamir Zeus White dealing with injuries on the groin. He did practice, so he's pegged to start this week as well. But I do like an Alexander Madison much better, even though the Steelers' defense is very good versus the run. I would definitely not promote this play, but if I'm picking one, if you had to choose, it's Madison over a White at this point. Jacoby Meyers dealing with an injury as well as an ankle. He should play absolutely with a no Devontae Adams as we continue to wait for the trade. Mayers, I mean, okay, it's going to be tough for an O'Connell to feed him. I would still say a Tucker over Mayers at this point, but I do like the fact that Mayers has a decent floor and mid-level risk, PPR mid-level for a Trey Tucker as well, where a DJ Turner is just the fill-in for the rest of this defense. If there is one player I'm very excited to start in this contest still, it is a Brock Bowers safety blanket appeal for an Aiden O'Connell, and he does look the part of being that generational tight end. So for me, I think we got to play him every single week at this point, the way this offense is rolling. New England Patriots taking on the Houston Texans, and my dude Drake May is playing, baby. Now we get to see... Okay, it only took 6 weeks for the Jacoby Brissett experiment to, wear thin, and it is wearing thin, but this offensive line we know is very much piss poor in New England. We'll see what Drake does. Definitely temper all expectations. High-level risk for Drake. I am a big fan. I think he is a very good, talented quarterback. They're just going to need to, give him some protection, make the scheme very simplified, and no Ramondre Stevenson. He's out with an injury. It's going to make it tough on Drake to at least get some assistance with, getting some running upside to at least alleviate pressure. Antonio Gibson, Jermichael Hasty. I mean, mid-level risk, PPR upside for it. Gibson, we're Hasty, not touching it. And then your wide receivers, I mean, everything is determined on the lack of pass productivity. Keyshawn Butte, baby. I mean, high-level risk. KJ Osborne, high-level risk. Demario Douglas, mid-level, 25 points. He's got the most points for the wide receivers at this point, but I'm still not touching it. Don't like it whatsoever. Garbage time may be here as well, but I do like Drake May. I want to see what's going to happen. Jalen Polk had a touchdown call back. I hate that rule, man. If you guys watch that, he got the toe down, but, I mean, the NFL rule says you got to complete progress of the catch, and the heel's out of bounds, but if he was facing the other direction and the toe taps work, I don't like that rule, man. Change the rule, NFL. But Jalen Polk, definitely low floor. He is rising. And a Hunter Henry on the mid-level risk. I think there is upside with a Hunter Henry once again, where he could be a safety blanket for a Drake May, looking for upside as well. Spencer Rattler and these New Orleans Saints, baby. My dude Rattler finally gets his opportunity. I'm a huge fan. OU days. Loved him with Oklahoma, and I really am rooting for this guy. I think that he's got lots of potential, lots of upside. He looked good in the preseason, but this is the regular season. He will have his growing pains. Temper those expectations, but with a cast of Kamara, Olave, Shaheed, I'm giving Spencer a mid-level risk. I think he hits the boom this week. At least, I mean, he should get at least one touchdown, but we'll see how he does. I'm not playing him, not telling y'all to start as Spencer Rattler, but I am putting him on a mid-level risk. I believe in this kid so much. I think he will showcase the talents. Alvin Kamara was dealing with an injury. He's off the report. Obviously, you're firing him up everywhere you got him. Where Chris Olave and a Rashid Shaheed, they are QB determined this week. QB floor definitely on the mid-level risk, but I do like the play of Olave. You know that Rattler was saying, he's a different dude and you got to feed him. I think we will see a force feeding of a Chris Olave. And Shaheed, he was dealing with a hip injury. Absolutely safety blanket, man. 4 boom games we can absolutely play as Shaheed this week. Mason Tipton, they're looking for that third wide receiver, not touching that. Where Foster Moreau with a Taysom Hill, he is out of this contest with those ribs. Foster Moreau is starting to become a player in this offense, y'all. 2 boom games, mid-level risk. Do like it over a Juwan, where I got Juwan on the high-level risk. Let's go, Spencer Rattler. Show everybody what I believe that you can be. New York Giants taking on those Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football, like I'm saying. Daniel Jones, Daniel Pennies. Okay, it's Daniel Nichols now because he looked good last week. And if you're looking for streaming upside versus the Bengals defense that really struggles to stop anybody, there is good upside for Daniel Jones this week. It was still no Malik Neighbors dealing with the concussion. Singletary is questionable to return, but they found something last week, man, with this Tyrone Tracy. He looks good, kid from Purdue. Liked him back then. I mean, he definitely proved to me what he can be. And I think, there could be a situation where Devin may lose more touches as the more explosive Tracy is on the field. Gives them more options, especially to be multidimensional, where a Darius Slayton, I played him last week in some leagues. I had Neighbors, had him as the handcuff. Good upside once again this week, where him and Wandale are definitely staples in this offense and looking good, especially without a Malik Neighbors. I'm totally fine with a Slayton and a Wandale this week. Tyrone Tracy, I still like the play even with a Devin Singletary dealing with his injury. I would go Tracy over a Devin this week as well. And Theo Johnson, targets are slowly coming, slowly getting there, but he's definitely not fantasy viable at this point. New York Jets and their new look, bench, Good Lord almighty, man. Well, the Jets are just so dysfunctional. I mean, what else can you say? Robert Saleh wanted apparently to fire Nathaniel Hackett, and somebody, kibosh that. They fire Saleh, and then what? They promote the interim coach, and he goes and fires a Nate Hackett. I don't know what the hell they're doing in New York. I don't even think they know what they're doing, but facing my Bills on Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers dealing with injury off that massive hit. He's going to play this week, mid-level risk. The upside is definitely here for this Jets offense, as any team that does have a coach switch, before the game of the week, they do get extra motivation. Rodgers should be good versus the Buffalo Bills, even though the Bills secondary has played decently well. I think that Aaron Rodgers can expose the Bills, especially if the offense doesn't get going. Breece Hall, stud start for me. Bills struggle on the best of days to, defend rushing upside, and the MO, because Breece has not played well the last 2 weeks, and a game script has definitely foiled that. Breece Hall, big bounce back versus the Buffalo Bills. He should absolutely find the end zone. Braylon Allen, volume floor continues. Maybe they do go to a little bit more of a run-heavy approach versus the Buffalo Bills. We will see, but Breece Hall over Braylon, obviously, in that respect. Garrett Wilson finally gets his bounce-back game so far this season. Low risk, fire him up everywhere you got him. We're Alan Lazard, good upside on the yak ability. 3 boom games, almost 60 points. You can trust an Alan Lazard in your wide receiver 2, 3, and flex without question. Mike Williams still not fantasy viable for us just yet. And a PPR floor for a Ty Conklin. Conklin does usually play the Bills pretty well, so if you're looking for a tight end, I don't hate it. Anywhere from 6 to 10 points coming his way this week. Philadelphia Eagles coming off the bye, taking on the Cleveland Browns. And there's a lot of green here because coming off the bye, getting A.J. Brown, grown-ass man, back, and Devontae Smith. Smitty, they're coming back for the goods, and they're going to have to showcase something. 2-2 coming off the bye. A win would kill your a loss, would kill your season. You got to go up against these Browns, and you got to take it to them. Jalen Hurts, low-level risk. Saquon, stud start. You know he's going to run all over these Cleveland Brownies. Fire these gentlemen up with ease. A.J. Brown, low-level risk. Smitty, fire him up, low-level risk. They will get back to basics on what they do well, I have no doubt, versus these Brownies. Fire up all these gentlemen with decent levels of confidence. Jahan Dotson, high-level risk, not touching it. And then Dallas Goedert is back, relegated down my board because everyone is back healthy to target floor, being on the mid-level risk. Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, Justin Fields, everyone's all worried and scared. Russell Wilson's finally off the injury report. It doesn't matter. Justin Fields, it's his job to lose at this point. He's doing more than 90 points. He's moving the ball. They're 3-2, and they should have won that game that was on the defense last week as well. They almost had it also. So we'll see how it does go. Fields could have made a few more plays. Obviously, the offense isn't humming along like we want to say. But Fields is definitely, they got to open it up a little bit more. You saw when they came back, when he was dealing with the injury, came back on the field, he started striking. Open it up, man. Let him throw the football. If he makes a few mistakes, your defense is good enough to at least bail him out. Low-level risk for a Fields versus the Raiders defense. He should absolutely run wild. Najee got the TD upside, first time in the green for me this season. I do like the play of Najee this week versus a Raiders defense that has seen better days. This team, you talk about the dysfunctional Jets, it's very dysfunctional in the desert as well, man. George Pickens, where Jalen Warren, high-level risk for me. He could play. He's still dealing with that knee. I'm not touching it this week. George Pickens, this guy's frustrated. What else can you say? 40 points, just not getting the ball enough. Start force feeding this man, but the problem is there is nobody else supportive as a supportive piece. Van Jefferson's not doing it. Calvin Austin is just your epitome boomer bust player on the field. You got to feed one of these guys to pull some coverage from George. Mid-level risk for Pickens at this point still. Where Van Jefferson not touching it. Austin is that guy. Only in 16-team leagues am I touching that. And then Pat Freiermuth dealing with an injury on the mid-level. He's getting you at least decent points for tight ends. I do like the Muth once again this week as well. But hopefully they can figure out this pass game where Fields stays on the field. But do not be afraid of a Russell Wilson. It is Justin Fields' team right now. Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on those New Orleans Saints. And we got Bake Show, low-level risk for me. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Even versus Saints defense that does play pretty well. Baker is playing, man. 4 boom games. He's doing everything you require. Where Rachaad White is out of this contest, listed as a doubtful. Bucky Irving should take the lead role. And my dude, Sean Tucker, hopefully we see him get some touches in this contest because I do still like a Sean Tucker quite a bit. You can fire up a Bucky in this sense. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, firing them up everywhere you got him, where I do believe it should be a Chris Godwin show over a Mike Evans. Evans is likely taking on a Marshawn Lattimore. We know the history. Fists will be flying. I mean, Mike Evans likes to fight with a Lattimore, so it's going to be tough sledding for him, where Godwin should have the better day of the two. Jalen McMillan still dealing with the injured hamstring. Hopefully he is back, and if he does come back, that will downgrade a Cade Otton. If McMillan sits, once again, Trey Palmer is also out in this contest. That would absolutely uplift a Cade Otton, so watch the injury report. If McMillan is out, definitely you can play a Otton on a PPR floor without question. Tennessee Titans taking on those Indianapolis Colts coming off the bye week. Will Levis. This is the week I'm going to say mid-level risk for a Will Levis, because you got to have figured something out coming off the bye week. If you didn't, I'm done. I'm done with you until I see otherwise. Mid-level risk. Not playing a Will Levis, but I want to see it at a point where I can say he can support his wide receivers and supporting cast. It needs to happen. Stop making mistakes. Stop doing the bonehead plays. Feed your wide receivers. Tony Pollard, fire him up everywhere you got him. He's been so damn good in the games that he has played. 3 booms so far with a Tajay Spears. He's going to get his touches from time to time, but Pollard over a Tajay. Easy pickings for me. DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley. I got mid-level for a Hop, D-Hop, and a Calvin Ridley. Good upside on the mid-level risk. I am calling a high risk, high reward for a Calvin Ridley this week. I do believe he finds the end zone. I do believe they make a pointed effort to get him the football. Calvin Ridley for me, definitely firing him up everywhere I got him, but understand it comes with risk, but the reward is definitely here as well versus Colts. Tyler Boyd, high level risk, and a Okonkwo. I am definitely not looking at that. It is definitely high level tight end or touchdown floor for him. Washington Commanders, the Commies, last one on the board, taking on the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. This will be an absolute gem of a contest. If you got, Sunday ticket, definitely fire this one up because it is good stuff. Jaden Daniels, rookie. Low-level risk, 4 boom games, 115 points. He's killing it, man. We're waiting for the, shoe to drop off, and right now it's just not doing it. Cliff Kingsbury, give this man his flowers as he's calling this offense to high levels of frequency, working everything, and the biggest aspect he understands, the running game supports young rookies. When will the other coaches in the league understand youthful rookie quarterbacks? They need support in the run game. This is the MO. Look at the Washington Commies, man. It does not matter who's running the football. Brian Robinson, B-Rob, is again game time decision with the knee injury. Look, they all ate last week. B-Rob had over 10. Austin Eckler had over 10. And then Jeremy McNichols had over 10. You can play these running backs, I'm telling y'all, because they know how to run the football. Austin Eckler, low-level risk. If a B-Rob sits, fire him up everywhere you got him. Jeremy McNichols, fire him up if a B-Rob sits as well. There is a good upside here also on the mid-level risk. Scary Terry McLaurin, good enough for me. Low-level risk, fire him up, even though the Ravens do have a good secondary with a Humphrey and company. I'm still playing Terry this week because Jaden has not showed the fact of wavering even against solid competition. You can play these gentlemen. Noah Brown and a Diami Brown. Tried to mix their 2 names together. PPR floor for a Noah on the high level and TD floor for a Diami. The Brown brothers, they're not related obviously, but I'm going to call them the Brown brothers. You can't touch it just yet, even though I do like Noah Brown, and I'm waiting for him to have that boom game to at least showcase the fact he can be trusted, because once they get that here as well, that secondary wide receiver, it's going to be lights out for this offense. And Zach Ertz on the mid-level risk. He continues his 5 to 6 to 7 points per week. And with tight ends being such a crapshoot, you could do a lot worse than that. You can fire up a Zach Ertz once again. But there you have it. That is week number 6. Start, sit, lineup advice. Definitely get your questions in those comments. I will get back to everybody that I possibly can until kickoff, and we will get these things righted in the right direction. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. And I want to say I appreciate all the support, all the new subscribers, all the people that are supporting the channel. Thank you so much. Let's have a banger week, no question, and we'll see you next time. I am out.